Previously, we have discussed about the internal genitalia of the female reproductive system, and in our today lecture, we will start with the breast, and then we will start our new topic, that is the male reproductive system. So, starting with our first topic, in which we will study the surface anatomy and the internal structure of the breast. The objectives of our today's lectures are to cover the breast, the male reproductive system, in which we will study the scrotum, testes, and their structure, and we will also look at their blood supply. So, this image is showing the internal structure of the breast, but before that, we will start with the introduction. And the breast, as you know, are the paired structures that can be found in both male and females, but they are more prominent in the females following the puberty. And these contain the mammary glands in females that are the accessory gland of the female reproductive system, and these are the key glands that are involved in the lactation. Bilocation, the breasts basically are the paired structures that are located on the anterior thoracic wall in the pectoral region. So if we talk about the surface anatomy, then just remember that the breasts can be considered to be composed of two regions, the circular body and the axillary tail. The circular body is the part that is the most prominent, and it is the largest, and the axillary tail is the smaller part, and that part runs along the inferior lateral edge of the pectoralis major muscle towards the axillary fossa. You cannot appreciate the axillary tail here, but I am talking about the area of the armpit. The axillary is basically pointing towards the area of your armpit or the axilla. So this is a smaller part, and the pectoralis major muscle, you can appreciate this muscle here. This is shown in this figure. So the axillary tail is the smaller part, and that will run along the inferior lateral edge of the pectoralis major muscle towards the axillary fossa, that is the area of your armpit. At the center of the breast is the nipple, and the nipple is basically composed of smooth muscle fibers, and the nipple is surrounded by the pigmented area of the skin that is termed as the areola, and there are numerous sebaceous gland opening onto the areola that acts as a protective lubricant for the nipple. So that's all about the surface anatomy, and now we will look at the internal structure of the breast. And here you can appreciate many structures in this diagram. So we will start with the mammary glands, and the mammary glands are the modified sweat glands, and they consist of a series of ducts and secretory lobules that are basically 15 to 20 in numbers, and each lobule consists of many alveoli drained by a single lactiferous duct, and these ducts converge at the nipple here. So this is if you look at the structure, then you can find the segments, and in each segment, a segment, or we can call it a lobe, in each lobe or segment you can appreciate the lobules, and each lobule will be further composed of alveoli, and each alveoli is basically drained by a single lactiferous duct that is converging towards the nipple that will drain the milk. Next, there is the connective tissue and the fat as well that provide the support to the breast. This is the fat, and between the lobules you can appreciate the connective tissue. So the function of this is to provide the support to the breast. And another important point is that the glandular tissue will proliferate during the lactation, or there will be the hyperplasia of the glandular tissue during the lactation to support the milk production. I will try to draw here the structure of the breast so that it gets more easy for you to understand. I said that there will be a segment or a lobe within the breast. So this will be a lobe or segment. Within this segment, if you zoom it out, then there will be grapes like structures. This whole structure will be termed as a lobule. I'm sorry, I am not able to write it completely due to the less space, but this whole structure will be termed as a lobule, and these grapes like structure will be termed as alveoli. So once again, I have told you that there will be a segment, and we termed that segment as a lobe, and there will be approximately 15 to 20 lobes, and each lobe will contain the glandular structures called the lobules, where the milk will be produced. And I have told you about the lobule as well, and each lobule will be consisting of alveoli, and the alveoli will be drained by the ducts, the lactiferous ducts, which will drain the milk towards the nipple. So that's all about the structure of the breast. Before moving on to our next topic, we will talk about the blood supply of the breast. And the arterial supply to the breast is simply by the thoracic branches of the axillary arteries, and from the internal memory and the intercostal arteries. So once again, the blood supply, the arterial supply, we have already discussed about these arteries when we studied the cardiovascular system. So just remember that the blood supply to the breast will be through the thoracic branches of the axillary arteries and from the internal memory and the intercostal arteries. There will be an anastomosis around the base of the nipple, the venous anastomosis, and the branches will carry the venous blood to the circumference, and they will end in the axillary and the memory veins. So here the veins are following the arteries. The lymph drainage is very important in the breast, and the lymph vessels and the nodes that will drain the breast are the superficial axillary lymph vessels, and the lymph may also drain through the internal memory nodes if the superficial axillary lymph vessel is obstructed. This lymph supply is very important. For example, in the breast carcinoma, these lymph nodes play a vital role for the metastatic spread of the cancer. Through these lymph nodes, the breast cancer can metastasize to other organs. So now we will talk about the male reproductive system, and the first topic that we are going to discuss is the scrotum. But before that, we will start with the introduction. And the function of the male reproductive organ is the production, maturation, and the storage of the spermatozoa, and also the delivery of spermatozoa in the semen into the female reproductive tract. The urethra is the common passageway for the urine excretion and for the ejaculation. So starting with the scrotum, that is basically a pouch of pigmented skin that is composed of the fibrous and the connective tissue and the smooth muscle as well. It is divided into the two compartments, and each of which contains one testis, one epididymis, and the testicular end of a spermatocoel that we will discuss in our coming slides. By location, it lies below the symphysis pubis and in front of the upper parts of the thighs and behind the penis. So this is the figure in which the scrotum is shown, and there are basically two compartments, and within each compartment one testis will be lying, and the skin is joined in the midline, and it will not fuse in the female, and it is homologous to the labia majora in female. If we look at the internal structure of the scrotum, then we can find two testes in each compartment, and within the scrotum, what other structures you can find are the epididymis and the testicular end of a spermatocoel. This is the testicular end of the spermatocoel, the testis, and the epididymis that is shown here. This is the epididymis, the testis, and the testicular end of the spermatocoel. So these are the structures that you can find in the scrotum. Once again, if we talk about the composition of the scrotum, then the scrotum is composed of fibrous and connective tissue and also the smooth muscle, and this is basically a pouch of pigmented skin that is divided into the two compartments, and each compartment will contain one testis, one epididymis, and the testicular end of a spermatocoel. And by location, it can be found below the symphysis pubis, in front of the upper parts of the thighs, and behind the penis. If we talk about the blood supply of the scrotum, then just remember that I don't think so that it is written in your book, but you should know about it. The scrotum receives its arterial supply from the interior and posterior scrotal arteries, and the interior scrotal artery will arise from the external pudendal artery, while the posterior will arise from the internal pudendal artery, and the scrotal veins will follow the major arteries, and they will drain into the external pudendal veins. So the arterial supply and venous supply is important, and we will revise it once again. So the arterial supply to the scrotum will be through the interior and posterior scrotal arteries. The interior scrotal artery will arise from the external pudendal artery, while the posterior will arise from the internal pudendal artery. And the scrotal veins will follow the major arteries, and they will drain into the external pudendal vein. Next, we will talk about the testes. And testes are the male reproductive glands, and these are equivalent to the ovaries in the female. If we talk about the size of the testes, then the testes are about 4.5 centimeter long, 2.5 centimeter wide, and approximately 3 centimeter thick. And these are suspended in the scrotum by the spermatocodes, and they are surrounded by the 3 layers of tissue that we will discuss now. But before that, once again we will look at the location of the testes. And we know and we have studied in the scrotum that the testes will suspend in the scrotum by the spermatocodes. These are the spermatocodes. Once again, the testes are the paired structures that are equivalent to the ovaries in the female reproductive system. They are lying within the scrotum in each compartment, and these are suspended through the spermatocodes, and these are the testes. And if we talk about their structure, then the outermost layer is the tunica vaginalis, and this is basically a peritoneum. What basically happens during the early fetal life, the testes develop in the lumbar region of the abdominal cavity just below the kidneys, and then they descend into the scrotum by the 8th month of the fetal life. And when they descend, they take with them the coverings of the peritoneum, blood and lymph vessels and nerves as well, and the different ducts. That's why the peritoneum eventually surrounds the testes in the scrotum, and then it becomes detached from the abdominal peritoneum. That's why the testes are covered with the this peritoneal layer that we call the tunica vaginalis. The next layer is the tunica albuginea, and this is a fibrous covering, this one. So this is a fibrous covering beneath the tunica vaginalis, and this layer will form septas, and it will divide the glandular structure of the testes into lobules. Here you can see that the ingrowths of the tunica albuginea has formed the septas, and it has divided the glandular pattern of the testes in the lobules. The next layer is the tunica vasculosa, and this basically consists of a network of capillaries supported by the delicate connective tissue. This one that is surrounding the seminiferous tubules. This layer will be the tunica vasculosa. That is not mentioned in this diagram, but I guess it is mentioned in your book. You can find that layer in your book. Now we will talk about the structure of the testes. And as you can see, the lobules here that are formed by the ingrowths of the Tunica albigenea. These are basically 200 to 300 in number. The lobules will be approximately 200 to 300 within each lobule, and there you can find 1 to 4 convoluted loops of germinal epithelial cells. These are the convoluted loops of germinal epithelial cells, or these are also called the seminiferous tubules. And between these will lie the interstitial cells that will secrete the hormone, the testosterone, after the puberty. Another very important point to be discussed here is the length of the tubule, that is approximately 6 meter in its full length. We will talk about the epididymis as well, and the epididymis is divided into different parts. This is the head of the epididymis, this is the body of the epididymis, and this is the tail of the epididymis. So these all seminiferous tubules are converging at the head of the epididymis, and when the epididymis leaves the scrotum, then we will call it the deferent duct or the vas deferent. And the length of this is approximately 6 meter in its full length, because it is repeatedly folded, and we will take its length in its full size. Next is that the blood and the lymph vessel will pass to the testes in the spermatic cord that we have discussed in the previous slides, and this is the spermatic cord here. The internal structure of the spermatic cord is not shown, but just remember that the blood supply to the testes will be through the spermatic cords. Once again, we have talked about the internal structure of the testes, and we have said that there are approximately 200 to 300 lobules in each lobule. These are the lobules, and within these these are the lobes, and within these lobes will be the approximately 200 to 300 lobules. Here you can find the 1 to 4 convoluted loops of germinal epithelial cells that are also called the seminiferous tubules. These are the seminiferous tubules, or the convoluted loops of germinal epithelial cells. Between the tubules will be lying the interstitial cells that will secrete the testosterone hormone after the puberty in male. At the upper pole of the testes, the tubules combine to form a single tubule. You can appreciate it here. These all tubules are converging to form a single duct, and this tube is about 6 meter in its full length, and it is repeatedly folded, and it is tightly packed into a mass that is called the epididymis. And this epididymis is divided into various parts: the head of the epididymis, the body of the epididymis, and the tail of the epididymis. And when it leaves the scrotum, then we call it the vas deferens or deferent duct. The blood and the lymph vessels pass to the testes in the spermatic cord. So if we summarize our lecture, then we have talked about the structure of the breast. We discussed about the surface anatomy of the breast, and we also talked about the uh, blood supply of the breast and the internal structure of the breast. Then we discussed about the male reproductive system, and we talked about the scrotum, its internal structure, and the blood supply of the scrotum. Then we talked about the testes, the structure of the testes, and in our next lectures we will talk about the spermatic cord, the deferent duct, the seminal vesicles, the ejaculatory ducts, the prostate glands, and the urethra and penis. So that's all for today, and if you have any question regarding this lecture, then you can ask. Thank you so much.